Welcome back to the Who's Yanks. We have another Who's Yanks. We're talking Canada soccer and U.S. soccer. Today we're going to be talking about the World Cup select cities for 2026 United bid that just finished up. As we have the following cities before our list without the stadiums. We have for the USA, Atlanta, Boston, Dallas, Houston, Kansas City, Los Angeles, Miami, New York, New Jersey, MetLife Stadium, Philadelphia, San Francisco Bay Area, and Seattle for your USA cities. And for your Canadian cities, Toronto, which is here, Vancouver, and to your Mexican cities, Guadalajara, Mexico City, and Monterey. So, as you just listing off the names of the cities themselves, I have another kind of slide I'm going to show you guys too. We're going to break down each of these cities one by one, kind of going into the stadium details and yeah, just telling if it was kind of a shock, no shock. I mean, some cities dropped out like Chicago, Edmonton didn't make it. Denver didn't make it. I think they put in a bid though, but Montreal also dropped out too. But some cities, I mean, that I guess a lot of people didn't expect, like Atlanta, according to some people. I personally expect Atlanta. I mean, they have a nice stadium, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's a retractable roof, which can be good during the summertime. As in the South down there, it gets hot. As we'll go through a lot of these southern cities like Houston and Dallas also have retractable roofs, which is pretty good. And yeah, definitely going to be much needed for the summer of the heat. Now, obviously, it shouldn't be as hot as Qatar this year, but in 2026. But you never know, as you know, summers also in the southern United States are brutal. As I've been and witnessed some of them in some of the southern states, and they're no joke, especially some of the humid heat. And humid heat versus dry heat that's a different story. But before we go into the series, I do want to take this video as kind of a token of appreciation, as this is kind of also acting as the 150th sub anniversary video, as I did promise that on Thursday, which is today, I would do something with breaking down the World Cup 2026 U.S., Canada, and Mexico cities. And here it is, as we got done watching the stream where they just basically just confirmed the cities. Some of these cities are, as I said, already knew, like Toronto and Vancouver. Those were given for Canadian cities. Mexico, Monterey, and Guadalajara. Those were also given for Mexico. But where things kind of get interesting and really, really not all that much is the USA. Where, as I said, Edmonton, or that's Canada, Edmonton dropped out. Some other cities also didn't make it, like Cincinnati, Nashville, and Orlando, but some DC too. But some people are kind of satisfied, some people are not. I mean, some people wanted Baltimore to kind of host it, especially in the Maryland area, but they didn't unfortunately get their way. And some people were happy that DC did not host it for safety reasons. So there's a variety of reasons and happiness, mixed emotions that goes on to when they call these cities out, at least in the stream I was watching. So yeah, so I just want to say thank you guys for once again for getting me to 150 subs, and you know it's phenomenal. I can't thank you guys enough. And as a token of appreciation, we're going to go through these World Cup cities together, as well as their stadiums that we have here. And for some of these, I'm going to have to zoom in and see. So some of those we already know too. So yeah, I guess we'll start with Seattle. And so first, we'll start on the American side. We have Seattle, Washington at Lumen Field, home of the Seattle Seahawks. By the way, quick notion: all fields will have to be that are currently covered in turf, that are used for the NFL, will have to be replaced with grass. No turf is allowed for the World Cup, which is good. Which you guys already knew that. I mean, turf really, like no other country, or not that I know of, not a lot play on turf. So yeah, and even for the World Cup, it's not really professional. So grass is the way to go, and grass will be the way to go. And Seattle, Washington is our first city on the list. Now, I'm going to try and probably talk about the brief environment of the city, or at least if I see it on TV, or if I've been to these cities in person. So Seattle, Washington, I've never been there in person, but yeah, I've watched a lot of Seattle Sounders games, and given the recent CONCACAF, the CCL, CONCACAF Champions League, where Seattle beat Pumas. I mean, there was a great atmosphere. Seattle can really pack their stadiums, including after watching them in the whole 2016, 2017, 2019. Also, like all the MLS titles they tried to come up with when they played Toronto FC. So, yeah, they really can pack their stadium down there, given now it's on the right conditions and it's not too hot, not too rainy. Yeah, they can really do a good job if they really do that down there. So, Seattle, Washington, I believe is also probably one of the given cities, given how the atmosphere and everything was good down there. And somebody say, well, if there's not Seattle, that means there's no one of these cities. So, which Seattle is a given for me. I mean, Seattle, just looking off the atmosphere offhand on TV and stuff, it's definitely a soccer city or a footballing city, and definitely deserves, in my book, to have a host in one of the stadiums for 2026. And they have a nice stadium too. Lumen Field's nice. Just replace the turf with grass, and you'll be good to go. Then our next city on the list, San Francisco Bay Area. So San Francisco, home of the San Francisco 49ers, which will be playing at Levi Stadium. I believe it's also near San Jose area too. So that whole San Jose, Silicon Valley, San Francisco area, we'll be all sharing the bid, and we'll be enjoying the games at Levi Stadium, which, as I said, is kind of like Seattle. Replace the turf with grass, and they're good to go. San Francisco, I've been. So it's a pretty good city to go host a city in. So yeah, I'd say San Francisco, we definitely got a lively atmosphere for the sport. We're very passionate. It's one of the Californian cities. It's NorCal. This is one of two California cities. Of course, North and SoCal have to be on there. But San Francisco, given how I've been there, really, really lively atmosphere. And San Jose too. San Jose, really, they really do a good job, at least for their MLS side. I know attendance have been really low lately because things have been on the down for the MLS side, but as for the whole, we see some U.S. soccer matches there, and yeah, I mean, they can pack the stadium, like the 2017 Gold Cup final that was held in Santa Clara, California, I believe at that same stadium, and they did a really good job there. The USA beat Jamaica 1-0, and yeah, it was really, really fantastic match. I remember Jordan Morris going in the late winter there, and the stadium erupted. So San Francisco, in my book, is another city that is good. It's definitely a sports city, definitely a soccer city, and deservedly so, gets its names on the bid. And then we go down I-5, down California, down SoCal. We have LA and SoFi Stadium, which this was, for me, it was questionable, as a lot of people thought that LA, because SoFi Stadium wasn't deemed fit at the time or prior to this, they weren't deemed fit, or there were rumors about it not being deemed fit due to the field dimensions to host the World Cup. But I mean, then again, they also got I think a roof on their head, so if it gets hot in the summer, it's going to be another one of the mini roof stadiums that they're going to have it in, which is pretty cool in my opinion. I mean, the roof not only do you have a set temperature of room temperature of 21 degrees Celsius or 72 degrees Fahrenheit, but you also got the noise traps in the atmosphere with the dome-like atmosphere, or the dome-sized roof. So LA, obviously it had to be LA. I mean, the Rose Bowl was probably on there, but many people said no, it couldn't be the Rose Bowl. It's too old. Nor could it be the the Coliseum. So those stadiums are just too old. And if you're gonna have a World Cup in your stadium, in your city, why not do it at a brand new stadium? By the way, SoFi Stadium is a new stadium that was opened recently by the LA Rams in the NFL. But just like any other, most of these stadiums, by the way, I should mention, are going to be NFL stadiums, as obviously they can hold at least 70K capacity or more easily, rather than the MLS stadiums that are around 25K average. So obviously it's going to be, when I say these cities, don't think MLS stadium, think NFL stadium. So there's already stadiums in there ready to go. There's only one of these cities in Canada that I have a question mark for it. I'll talk about the end. But yeah, so LA, same thing, great atmosphere. I haven't been, but I've seen a lot of games on TV. It's definitely one of the places I want to go check out. I've heard many mixed messages about it, but nonetheless, they have themselves a World Cup bid, and the atmosphere should be lively down there. Especially, that's obviously one of the biggest soccer cities in the U.S. and arguably in North America, I would say. So, at least out of the U.S., Mexico, and Canada, and everywhere. So, yeah, given how everything I've seen. So that's L.A. Next city, Kansas City, Missouri, Arrowhead Stadium, home of the Kansas City Chiefs. An outdoor stadium in the middle of Kansas City, Missouri. Obviously another football stadium, same thing. Never been to Kansas City, but we know if you're a U.S. soccer fan or you've watched U.S. soccer, you know darn well that Kansas City has a passionate soccer fan base. I mean, we've seen lots and lots of U.S. soccer games hosted there, and At one point, it was honestly the unofficial capital or soccer city of the USA, where they hosted their US M&T games. So, and obviously, to me, Kansas City was gonna get it because the U.S. Federation loves them. The U.S. loves playing there. Except they play at their MLS stadium over in Kansas State, but this is in Missouri, so yeah. So this was a given for me. Same with L.A., San Francisco, Seattle. So right now, none of these cities are surprises for me. Um, and then the next city is Dallas. Dallas, Texas. By the way, Kansas City, as I already said, I haven't been, but I can just see on TV and everywhere, just watching U.S. M&T games, the atmosphere, and definitely a passionate soccer fan base there. Dallas, Texas is our next city. AT&T Stadium, once again, a closed roof stadium, which is good during the summertime. Also going to keep the noise in and keep the noise around. It's going to be loud. But, yeah, obviously, Texas was going to have two. California is going to have two. So, yeah, I mean, Dallas, Texas is going to have arguably a good game. And maybe more than one. I mean, this is just a city and a stadium that they're hosting in. But AT&T Stadium, home of this is a test for me too, the Dallas Cowboys of the NFL. See if I know my NFL teams. So, I mean, yes, I've been to Dallas, and it's a gigantic stadium with also another city with a passionate or a growing love for the sport. You know, some of my favorite content creators that are following the USMNT are actually new, or most of them come from Dallas or Austin or Houston area. So it's growing. It's definitely growing there, and it's always been around. And now we're just seeing it come out. So Dallas, I've been there, and I can tell the stadium is gonna be wild. And watching U.S. M&T games or Canada, Mexico games in there, even any team that comes in here. By the way, we have an expanded format of teams coming in, so any team that's going to play there in front of a packed stadium is going to be pretty wild. So that's going to be a racket to see. And then the next city we have Atlanta, Georgia, which to honestly some was a shock, but to me, looking down, really deeply looking at this, not really, because Mercedes-Benz Stadium is a nice stadium. We've seen Atlanta United play. Once again, another closed roof stadium. Relatively, I think they have a little opening at the top, but it's relatively closed. And once again, it's in the south where it can get hot. So humid heat. And once again, they're going to be protected. The fans are going to also be able to keep the noise inside. And once again, another stadium that you can pack, obviously, or around 75K fans in there. So as we've seen, Atlanta United also packed their stadiums in here. And so I've been to Atlanta too for a couple of days. And it's a nice stadium. And the stadium is, if you're not familiar with it, it definitely looks new. It kind of means described as like a spaceship, but it is a nice stadium. You go inside, it's really, really loud. And Atlanta United fans do a great job, keeping the level of intensity up there. And I'm pretty sure if they can do that in an MLS game or MLS match, wherever it is, imagine a World Cup city in there, a World Cup match in there. It's going to be wild too. That's another city that's going to be wild. And then we go to another closed roof stadium. It's Houston. Been to Houston as well, many times actually. NRG Stadium, home of the Texans, Houston Texans. Once again, another closed facility, another closed roof facility that's going to hold noise in, protect once again from the heat that's going to be during the summer from the south. So humid heat, as we know, is no joke. As most of these stadiums also in the south are protected from the heat, except for one, which is in Miami. That's probably I think it's we're gonna get to say, but it's Rock Stadium, and that's gonna be outdoors. So hopefully it's not too hot in Miami, but it's definitely gonna be a nice city there. But Houston, definitely a good city to host it in. Boston, Massachusetts, Gillette Stadium, home of the New England Revolution. I've been to Boston. It's the city itself is good. The city itself, they can hold. We've seen New England Revolution fans. We've seen U.S. M&T fans. We've seen a lot of passionate fans for whatever country they may represent. And I heard rumor has Brazil has a large fan base here as well as even in Miami. So someone even said in one of the comments I was watching, should Brazil have a game here, it's going to be wild. Even though anywhere they go, it's going to be wild because it's Brazil. But Gillette Stadium, once again, it's outside the stadium, so it's not, it's outside the city. So the stadium is, not in Boston, so you're going to have to travel to it if you live in Boston or anywhere in the New England area. But it's another good place to have it, and we'll see who plays there. And now we move to the other side. We have Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lincoln Financial Field, home of the Philadelphia Eagles. And Philadelphia, I've been to here as well. It's definitely another city that's growing in the sport. They love it. We've seen U.S. soccer games here as well as even the recent Copa America. I believe they had a third place match in the 2016. Um, brilliant city there, as well as really great stadium too. The stadium is, as I said, relatively located near the city. It's a little bit on the outskirts, but not as much as New England or Boston Stadium. So Philadelphia, that should be a fun sight to see. So if you live near Philadelphia or in Philadelphia, congratulations. Enjoy that. And then our next city, our final city that's in the southern United States, Miami, Florida, Hard Rock Stadium. As I couldn't remember the first name of Rock, it was Hard Rock Stadium. Once again, it's outdoors, as I said, and it is in the south, so hopefully it won't be too balmy and hot in the summer. But if it is, hey, I mean, it shouldn't be as hot as Qatar or anywhere else. So it should be hopefully manageable for the players, and we'll see how they play down there. But Miami, obviously, is a darn good city to host it in. You've got a lot of countries there, a lot of fan bases from countries all around the world, especially in Latin American countries. So any Latin American country that comes to Miami is going to be a party. And any party, probably any other team too for that matter. But Latin America definitely has a good stronghold in Miami. So any team from Latin America that goes to Miami is going to have a darn good time. And really looking to see a stadium there at Hard Rock Stadium. Haven't been to Miami, but I know for a fact it's going to be a darn good stadium given how it's Miami and a lot of teams, love or enjoy looking forward to playing in Miami. In the last U.S. city in general, we have New York, New Jersey, MetLife Stadium, which rumor has it this is where the final will be, which we've seen the Copa America 2016 final in this stadium. It's a giant stadium. I've been to this one too. Giant stadium. It's really good. Although if you're obviously in the New York area, New Jersey area, it's outside of New York. It's obviously there's not enough room in New York City for the stadium to fit. As everybody knows, there's no room in New York City. But this is a darn good stadium for residents of this area, anyone who lives in this area. So we have kind of a North Jersey, South Jersey. If you live in South Jersey, you can go to Philly. Or if you live in North Jersey, you can go to, New York area. So that's all your American cities. So we're going to go to our Mexican cities. By the way, I have not been to Mexico, so all these cities are new for me, and I'm just judging by games I saw on TV. So Mexico City, we all know about Estadio Azteca. We all know, Canadian American soccer fans. We know this city too well. Darn good stadium. It's at altitude. If you're going to be running at altitude, so this is going to be a tough city to play for any team. Your lungs and legs are going to be burning, and so that's just the nature of this city. So good thing is, that's the thing about this city. So the city has this difficulty with the southern cities. Miami especially is going to be dealing with hot heat and humidity if it's really hot around that time. So each city kind of has their own unique challenges, but we'll see. But Mexico City, we all know that too well. Altitude, it's going to get hot. It's going to get loud. Fans, you can pack that stadium. A lot of fans. It's going to be really a fun atmosphere to watch. Mexico City, so anyone who hosts a game there in Mexico City is going to be fun too. Monterey, once again, just judging off of this. BBVA Stadium, yep, Estadio BBVA. We've seen Monterey play for CONCACAF Champions League, and the stadium is really nice. I love it. By the way, we're going to see some of these games too, especially I think there's a Monterey and Guadalajara. They're going to be in women's championship is coming up later on this month or next month. So some of these cities we're going to get to take a deeper look at in their stadiums. So Monterey, once again, another great place to play. Should be really fun. And last but not least, as a TFC fan, we remember this one from Mexico City, Guadalajara. We remember Michael Bradley's missed penalty. R.I.P. to our CCL hope and dream there. But yeah, other than that, Estadio Akron is really nice. It's a nice stadium. Haven't been, as I said, to any Mexican cities, but just looking at it off the TV, the atmosphere to get loud, and watching TFC play, this was a fun place to play in. Once again, another stadium. All these stadiums in Mexico are at altitude, so any of the Mexican cities provide these challenges at altitude, just like some of the southern cities will have heat. Except if you're in Miami, yes. Most of the southern cities will have retractable roofs or just flat out, just closed roofs. So that's your Mexican cities. And last but not least, we have our Canadian cities. We have Vancouver at BC Place. Once again, another retractable roof. Should things get too hot or should you want to keep the noise inside the stadium. Home of Vancouver Whitecaps. I haven't been to Vancouver myself, but we've seen Vancouver play as well as we've seen Canada play in Vancouver. And it's a nice place. I mean, of course, this was not a surprise to me. We knew Vancouver was going to be one of the Canadian cities, whether it be at 3 or first. But Vancouver was definitely going to be on here. Definitely a nice place. As well as in the last city, we have Toronto here, which is right here. BMO Field, that was also one of the other givens for me. Toronto, of course they were going to hold it. Of course we were going to hold it. But the only thing for me is, the only interesting here is, of course, I live here, so obviously I know what it's like. I've been to Canada games, 3 Canada games, one coming up actually for myself for the women, so I'm watching Canadian women's next week. You can get your tickets if you're interested in Canada soccer, but yeah, obviously I live in Toronto, so I know everything. I know the soccer atmosphere, I know the stadium, and it's home right here. So only thing is, as I said, only concern with the stadium is they have to expand, which many people say they can get that done. It's not going to be a problem. Currently, the stadium capacity is around 30K, and I believe they need to have around 40 or 45K. Just need to add 10,000 seats, but they can do it just adding on the supporter section, on the Voyager section. So you can do it by adding it towards the lake, the side facing the lake. That way you can raise it up, or you can probably make room for both sides and raise both up. And there you go. You have 4 years now to do that, and they'll get it done. Especially since BMO is now stamped as a place on it. The other place that many people were saying was Rogers, but then again, would you really want to play on a baseball field, kind of like what we see for NYCFC? They did it before when Toronto FC played LA Galaxy in 2012 for the CONCACAF Champions League, and Toronto FC actually was triumphant in that. And they played at Rogerson. They played on a baseball field, but for a World Cup match on a baseball game or baseball field, would it make sense? And it wouldn't look right. So BMO Field, just renovate the stadium, just make minor. It's only minor too, so we're not talking major renovations. We're talking minor. They can add this. I'm pretty sure they can add the number of seats in the coming years. So, but yeah, other than that, that's all your cities: U.S., American, Mexican, Canadian cities. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little rundown, as well as even the stadium breakdown. And that pretty much does it for this video. As I said, I hope you guys liked it. So also tell me in the comments which city you plan on going to, which city is near you. If you live in the city that has been selected, congratulations. If not, just tell me which city you want to, or even tell me which city you wish had made the list. So yeah, if you like this video, make sure you like, subscribe, tell your friends about it. Also tell your friends thank you for getting me to 150 subs. Remember, if you want to hit the bell notification when any video is uploaded or posted, aside from the subscribe button, and tell your friends 2026, here we come.